Matthew here from MiniWarGaming.com, and we have another Beat Matt Batrep.
We work so you can play. MiniWarGaming's Beat Matt Batrep.
Today, Cam has challenged me to a 2,000 point Imperial Guard versus Necrons battle. We've already rolled for the mission and deployment. We're going to be doing Spearhead with Seize Ground. So let's take a look at the armies as well as the scenario, or the deployment, I guess. Let's start by looking at Cam's Imperial Guard. Now he brought a standard mechanized list with maybe some things that aren't so standard. As you can see right here, we got lots of lascannons. We've got 5 chimeras. Now 2 of them have just regular Catachan squads, and then there's a command squad right in the middle there that's not in a chimera. And then he's got a couple of veteran squads as well. And then there's plasmas and meltas and flamers sprinkled in there. He's got 3 Leman Rusts. I can't remember which ones they're called, but they're the ones with the plasma cannon, so it fires 3 small blasts, strength 7 AP2. And then he's got 5 groups of 3 lascannons right there, the add-ons to the regular troops. So you've got tons of high strength weapons. Now I knew that he was bringing Imperial Guard mechanized, so I decided if I bring vehicles, they're just going to get shot down in turn 1. So I'm going to try out a fully and a foot-slogging, except for the one Overlord in the command barge with the War Scythe and Resurrection Orb. We have another Overlord. I actually brought 2 Overlords, and the other one's going to be joining a group of Immortals. He's got the Pharaon upgrade, so they have they can move and still shoot their 24 inches. We got a group of 8 Lich Guard with the Dispersion Shields and the Hyperface Swords, and then we got 2 groups of 18 Warriors, each with a Lord with Resurrection Orb and War Scythe attached. 2 groups of 6 Scarab Swarms to try to take on his vehicles, and then a group of 8 Deathmarks with the Cryptek, Harbinger of Destruction with Solar Pulse and everything. Turns out I use them incorrectly, but it doesn't really matter, as you're going to find out. As we said before, the scenario was the capture points. You can see the 3 points we rolled. There's 1, 2, and the third one's hidden behind sandbags on the other side. And then the deployment is going to be table quarters. So here's the third one over there. You can see it hiding behind that sandbag. So pretty much spread out. And because it's table quarters, this should be really interesting. Now we rolled off, and I get to go first, unless he steals initiative, of course. And I choose to deploy in the one far corner over there because there's an objective, and there's an objective nearby. And so if this turns into an objective game rather than, one of us just dying, then I wanted to be sure to have the most benefit of getting them. Because I'm slow, I do not have a lot of fast vehicles. I don't have any fast vehicles except the one command barge, but he can't take objectives. He can only contest them. And so I have to rely on being able to take these objectives, and getting all the way to his side is going to take the entire game. So I go ahead and I put my Scarabs. Now, because I have first turn, I'm taking a big chance and put my Scarab Swarms out in the open, even though I know he has strength 7 blast weapons that'll just insta-kill them, and all the lascannons that can insta-kill them as well, because I think, well, it's only a 1 in 6 chance that he takes first turn. So I put the Scarab Swarms out in the 2 flanks to go after his vehicles, and then I have my Lich Guard with their shields out front because they don't need cover at all, because they have a 4+ invulnerable save. And then I put the Immortals right behind them, and then a large group of Warriors behind the Scarabs, and beside them at the front there. And then the other group of Warriors is going to go and sit on that objective for the entire game. Because in the end, we can't forget the objectives, and I can't get to objectives very quickly because I'm just a normal speed army here, which is rather slow with all the new fast vehicles and everything. So in Cam's deployment, he has a hard time figuring out how he's going to fit all of his tanks into this one little quarter of his deployment without getting them too far forward, because he realizes he does not want to get up as far forward as he can, because he wants me. I'm a medium range firing army. I'm a 24 inch if I stand still for most of my weapons, except for one Harbinger of Destruction who's starting in reserve. And so he's deciding to put all his lascannons dotting the back so they never have to move for the entire game, because if they move, they can't fire. And they're easily killed as well. They're only toughness 3. They have 2 wounds each, but most things will be able to insta-kill them. At strength 6 or higher, they die. And their armor save is 5+. It's pretty ridiculous. But the Imperial Guard, the individual guys, they're as weak as termagants. Let me just put it that way. His Leman Russes he's trying to put in a position where they'll have good firing range, but without being too close to my army. He's really worried about the Scarab Swarms, obviously for good reasons, because they will strip off the armor faster than anything else will destroy a tank, which I love about them. They work quite well. And then he has his command chimeras in the back, ready to give support with orders and everything to his guys. So that's that group in the back there is also a command squad. So he's relying on sitting on the objective and then just blasting the crap out of me and hoping that that'll be enough, and moving his chimeras up to grab any objectives that he needs to. So you can see he's huddled into his corner as much as he can to stay as far away from my army as possible. Because as much as I'm not a close combat army, I'm a medium range army, whereas he has a very long range over me with all his lascannons and plasma cannons and all of that. And so all his chimeras, he actually opted to give them all heavy flamers rather than keeping their standard weapons, which we'll see how well that comes into effect. So he gets to roll to steal the initiative. This is very critical because my guys are out in the open, and he rolls, and he steals initiative. And I'm like, no! That was my one hope of winning, is keeping these scarabs up front so I can charge up first turn. So we're going to see what happens here. He moves up to get his vehicles into position. Chimeras move up slightly. So everything's moving 6 inches basically, so they can still fire and the occupants can still fire. And the other chimera at the back there. So the first Leman Russ, he decides to target the warriors, who are actually going to be in cover. And the first one scatters a bit, but still hits one of the scarabs and some of the warriors. The second one is scatters back a bit, hits a couple of the warriors, doesn't hit directly enough onto the vehicle to do anything. And the other one scatters forward. So lucky for me, only one hit on the scarabs, which is the red die. So one scarab swarm is insta-killed, and then I get cover saves on everybody else, but I do lose 5 of my warriors. So 5 of them do go down to that shooting. The other Leman Russ is a little smarter and goes after the scarab swarms. One direct hit, hits 4 of them. The other one scatters off. And the third one thankfully scatters off. That could have been the end of those 6 scarab swarms. So 4 hits, 3 wounds, so 3 of them just die because there's no cover. And I didn't want to go to ground because I wanted to be able to charge. Lascannons into my Lich Guard, manages to kill one of them. So one of them does go down, and those are reanimation counters, the green D12s. Firing as well from the other lascannons into my Lich Guard, fails to do any wounds. The other ones are firing into the warriors. They fail to hit anything. And then we got the occupants and the chimeras firing their last guns into the scarab swarms, managing to inflict 1 wound. So do my guys run? They do not. Doesn't matter what the other die was, a 4 and a 6 still add up to 10. And 3 of them get back up, so that's 39 extra points, and due to popular demand, I'm bringing back the extra Necrons counter, because people complained when I removed it, because they really liked that I had it there. And the Lich Guard also comes back, so that's actually 84 points. And doing a little trick there, putting them in coherency, but up at the front, it gains them 2 inches extra movement, because I am trying to get them into close combat as fast as possible. You can only gain 2 inches at most each phase, because they have to be put into coherency with a model that was already there, not the one that just came back from reanimation protocols. The warriors are all advancing, and the Lich Guard are obviously going to advance as far as they can because they're going to be providing cover to everybody behind them. It's a bit of my Tyrannid tactics coming through there, and also because they're going to be good in close combat, obviously. And the Scarab Swarms move up as well. The Scarabs really want to get into the tanks this turn. They don't want to wait any longer than that because they're going to be dead next turn otherwise. The Immortals also advance. Thankful for the Farron upgrade, it gives them Relentless. They're going to be able to still fire 24 inches. And then realizing the Command Barge could get to somebody and do some hits, I didn't want him left out in the open for that turn, so he's going to fly over there. Both the Overlords have Tachyon arrows, so I wanted to make sure I could use them throughout the game. In the shooting phase, we have everybody running at this point. The Lich Guard didn't manage to run very far, but thankfully the Scarab Swarms actually got about 4 or 5 inches of run distance there, so they're moving up. And then the Immortals decide to open fire on the Leman Russ there. Hitting on 3s, glancing on 6s, actually managed 3 glancing hits. And one of them's a weapon destroyed, or sorry, one of them's an immobilized, and the other one was a shaken. And so the nice thing with being immobilized is my guys will be able to auto-hit when they go and charge in. The warriors then run up, and then we move to the assault phase. So, multi-assault from the Scarab Swarms. Got to take down as many vehicles as I can in one turn because they most likely will be dead the next turn. Multi-assaulting through cover, but they get to double whatever they roll for the difficult terrain because they do assault 12 inches. So the 3 of them are going on the 1 Chimera, hitting on 4s, and then they strip away armor. They stripped away 3 armor there and managed 2 glancing hits, and managed to stun the vehicle, which is good, but not as much as I'd wanted to do. The other ones managed to hit only 3 times, but they strip off 2 armor, and then manage 2 glancing hits and do the same thing to the other one. So they both lost armor, but unfortunately neither of them are dead. On the Chimera, managed to strip down 2 of the armor, and then actually get 2 penetrating hits, and one of them is a wreck. So the Chimera is wrecked, and the guys had to get out of there as fast as they could. The other one auto hits, strips off 2 of the armor, and then manages 4 penetrating hits and 1 glancing hit, and there's an explosion. So the Chimera goes down to the Scarab swarms. So huge losses on the Imperial Guard side from the Scarabs. The Scarabs then hit from the explosion, take 2 wounds, but manage to save one of them. So luckily the Scarab swarms are still alive, and the Imperial Guard group right there do take a couple wounds. They take 4 wounds, and 2 of them are saved. And so, or 3 of them were dead, I can't remember, it doesn't matter. Some of them died. End of round 1, you can see the power of those Scarab swarms. If you don't take them out first turn, they are going to rip your vehicles to tiny little shreds. Even if you move more than 6 inches, they still are going to be able to strip down your armor, because those Chimeras now are permanently down in their armor count, their armor value, for the rest of the game. So now everything can start to shoot at them. The front armor on the one of them is now 9, and the other one is 10. So stay tuned for part 2. If you're watching this on YouTube, click the annotation. If you're watching on MiniWarGaming, there will be the links below. Don't forget to subscribe and like it if you want more Necron battle